So,
Yes.
so Anne, I gave a brief introduction to you for our audience here, but why don't you talk about who you are and how you came to become a whistleblower?
Um, I work for the Tennessee Valley Authority, which is the government's largest power production facility here in the Tennessee Valley. It was started by the Roosevelt, it's one of the legs of the Roosevelt throne. And I started to work for TVA in its nuclear construction program in 1982 whenever I was 42 years old. I didn't know anything about nuclear, but I've seen quite openly and quite quickly that there was a rule book sitting up on the shelf that they told me to read, but nobody was going by it. And within 2 years, I had become quite well known for being outspoken on the job site. I filed a complaint over falsification of records to begin with, and later over unequal pay. I was doing the same work as degreed engineers, and I was a clerk. By 1990, I was a mid-level manager. I'd been promoted and given raises by a lot of judges. And I worked for TVA for right at 16 years, but was never given any kind of raise or promotion without a judge signing a legal document, and everybody else had gotten theirs without any problems. And so I stayed in the nuclear industry through those years, and through I prevailed in 6 whistleblower complaints against TVA. 5 of them, I stayed on the payroll and did not I did not leave my employment. I live out in the rural mountains of East Tennessee, and there was nowhere else to work because DOE and TVA controlled all the funds and all the employment opportunities in this area. If you don't work at Wendy's on the interstate, you work for TVA or DOE. TVA powered the Manhattan Project from the Whistleblowers steam plant, and Whistleblowers nuclear plant was where I was working. So I was intimately involved. My father had drove a bulldozer to build TVA's plant, steam plant, and the dam across Whistleblowers. But here I am working in the 1980s and the 90s at a nuclear facility that I really didn't know what nuclear was, and I was pretty dumb. I had a high school education. I needed to go to work, so the more I found out, the worse things got.
And Anne, you began to make reports about health and safety problems. You would check the records and see that even though work was supposed to be done properly, it wasn't being done. You reported that. What kind of action was taken against you by the TVA?
Well, the first thing they did was come in one afternoon and told me that, I was a poster child for hard work and long hours and getting everything done right and making other people do their jobs. And one afternoon they came in and told me that I was being removed for unacceptable work performance. And I've been getting extraordinarily high work service reviews for a long time. And it kind of startled me that, Melissa? It startled me that they didn't, it was written down that I was extraordinary, but their mouth was telling me that I was not doing good work. And the first thing that I found out is that there was 60,000 hangers, which is a mechanism that is a pipe support and electrical support all the way around the plant. And I found that 60,000 hangers had not been inspected, and there was no documentation even to show that they had been. But on the broader document that they'd given to the NRC to start the plant up, said that they had been done. And so that was a big kink in their plan to start the plant up without getting the work done.
And you were...
I'm finding a lot of falsification of documents, a lot of people signing documents that was not qualified to do the work. We had a lot of people from Kroger as inspectors that had never been trained in inspection.
And you continue to make health and safety complaints and complaints about problems at the plant. And did it lead to you being physically threatened?
Yeah. I was coming home from work one night about 8 o'clock. It was in the fall of the year, which is here is dark at 8 o'clock. And I was run off the road. My car was wired to be firebombed, and part of it went off, but not enough. The drive shaft was dropped out of my car. The Inspector General and a lot of people did a lot of investigations, but as we all know, investigations are not supposed to go anywhere. They're just to be used as a document to support the company's position that everything's okay and that I was just a disgruntled employee.
And what are the conditions at the plant for other workers? What happened to other workers who also were conscientious and tried to report health and safety problems at the plant or in the industry?
Well, back then, people were coming to my house at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. Whenever I was having to go to work, they was contacting me on the job site. It ended up there was hundreds of complaints filed with the Department of Labor over the things that was going on. There was massive amounts of people that were showing up at my house to get me to show them how to file complaints. And at one time, the summer in 1994, I was holding classes on my front porch and back in the country with to educate people about what they could do for themselves and how to file their own complaints. So it would become a massively big problem. TVA holds the record today for the most complaints filed with the Department of Labor than any other facility, nuclear or non-nuclear, across the nation. And when that word got out, well, people from the Department of Education, people from DOE, I mean, my door, it was like they were standing in line. So it really became, it began to take up my life, shall we say. It kind of overwhelmed me.
And you have some observations. I mean, under the law in the United States, whistleblowers, nuclear whistleblowers, are supposed to be protected. Now, what you're saying is, in reality, the reality of the situation is that there's no real protection for nuclear whistleblowers. What do you see as necessary to bring about protection for nuclear whistleblowers?
First thing is that we have to take the investigation and put it out into, take it away from OSHA. OSHA is supposed to be dealing with health issues. and safety on the job plant. So the NRC and the industry, NEI, the lobbyist, the Nuclear Energy Institute, which is lobbyist in D.C., them and the NRC decided, and the Bush administration, they determined that it should go over to OSHA. It had been in wage and hour, which is where it should always have been. But the OSHA people, they brought in a man from South Dakota here that could not even spell the word nuclear, and he couldn't say it correctly. So it really did become a joke. And then in 1993, during hearings that U.S. Senator Joseph Lieberman from Connecticut had agreed to hold, we got the law changed. The nuclear industry is the only one that has 6 months, 180 days to file a complaint with the Department of Labor. We got our laws changed to cover our industry because we were being beat to death, and the nuclear industry had become so supposedly complex, which is nothing but a nasty way to boil water. And so they try to make the general public believe that this is something complex. But what I found out was that there was an agreement between TVA, the NRC, and the Inspector General that there was a memorandum of understanding, which we call an MOU for short. And a lot of people know, but these MOUs with the Department of Labor, with the NRC, with the utilities, and all this kind of crap does nothing but it turns back over to the utility whatever whatever the employee is complaining about. And so before we could get out of the NRC's office, our complaints was being telegraphed to TVA through telephone conversations or just walking from one office to another. Now, that MOU and the Inspector General's report was produced in, you can find it on the NRC's Inspector General's website. It's a public document. It's all, and in there it tells that the industry and the NRC have agreed not to investigate safety issues even if we settle in court or if we settle out of court. And TVA and I did an agreement in November 1990, in which they agreed to send me to college. All of a sudden, they wanted to make me smart because I beat them 5 times already. And in that agreement was that supposedly they didn't want me to talk about what any of the agreement was. And I said, that's stupid because I'm not the only one that has access to this information. So one of the things that everybody should remember, you do not have to agree to not talk about your settlement or any kind of agreement that you make. Only say, I'm not going to talk about the amount of money that I received or about any, or just say I'm not going to talk about any kind of compensation agreement, because TVA sent me to college and I came away with 3 college degrees in 4.5 years. I got an undergrad in education with a major in industrial training, and then I came away with 2 parallel master's degrees, one in gerontology and one in leadership studies and adult education. And I never talked about the amount of money that I received. they paid for my college education outside of the monetary money that I got. And they gave me a $10,000 credit card to use for my college expenses. And so you don't have to talk about, you can talk about, yeah, we did an agreement. And if they say, well, we'll sue you if you do it, well, you better be careful about you people on the inside who talk about what I got. Because I could prove that in a lot of different settlements that I helped negotiate, that TVA's Human Resources was talking to their families, and the gossip was getting around about how much money people were getting. So it wasn't about me, it was about the other side talking about what happened to them.
Now, the former chairman of the NRC, Jasko, recently was forced to resign, and he wanted to raise the issue of Fukushima and the lessons for American people of the nuclear plants because of the lessons of Fukushima. What happened to NRC Chair Jasko, and what are the lessons of Fukushima, the meltdown at Fukushima for the American people?
Well, the Fukushima meltdown was as a result of the incompetence of American engineers and regulators, which is what we've got here in the U.S. I mean, not only do we have it here, but we've exported it to these other countries. I mean, why are we fighting about Iran trying to make a nuclear facility out of a nuclear power production facility whenever they're making nuclear weapons material here at Whistleblowers nuclear plant within 17 miles of my house? I mean, this is crap. I mean, this is the kind of two-faced nuclear industry that we have in this country, and the kind of two-faces of our politicians and the industry itself. I mean, there's no other word for it. That's just two-faced Americans. The other thing is that Fukushima was a disaster because the people that are supporting and giving support to the Japanese government is the two-faced Americans, such as the NRC. Now, with Jasko and what he did, they wanted him out because the industry would not tolerate him. First of all, because he wouldn't support those four stupid Republicans that had been put on and two of them can call themselves Democrats if they want to, but they've been known to be lying about other stuff, so why should we believe them about where they vote in the polls? But anyway, the Fukushima issue is something that Americans and people around the world should be wary of, because there are accidents in this country every day. Every 24 hours, there are more than one. Several accidents happen around this country every day. And I don't care. You can say, oh, they don't say anything about accidents. They call them unplanned events. They call them incidents. They have all kinds. We call it Nukes speak. And anybody in your own industry, regardless of whether you're in nuclear, if you're in transportation, if you're in the health industry, you should learn the kind of speak that they use to cover up their mistakes and their killing of people. This industry still tells everybody that nobody has ever died in the power production industry as a result of a reactor accident. That's an out-and-out lie. 4 people were consumed, and the families only got their ashes in Idaho in the early 60s. So this is crap. This is the kind of industry and the kind of regulation that goes on in the United States. And whenever we talk about the nuclear industry and how safe it is, if it's so damn safe and if it's so inexpensive, why is Wall Street not putting money into it? People need to think about that, because Wall Street says we're not going to give you any more money because you've not paid the debts from the 1970s in the first round of such a bad thing. Nobody in America has insurance on their houses in case of a nuclear industry or nuclear accident. these are things that the general public does not know and would not know unless somebody brings it to their attention. And this is the kind of stuff that Americans are using and giving to the Japanese to help them cover up what's going on. Babcock and Wilcox, I mean, I wouldn't want them to build me an outdoor toilet. Why would I expect them to build and deal with the nuclear industry?
Okay, well,
this is the kind of stuff that we're doing in this country, and this is the kinds of things that we're exporting to those poor people in Japan who they believe their government, they trust their government, and they can't because the Americans have sent the nuclear industry and its PR to the Japanese people, and it's a joke. It's a bad, nasty joke.
okay, well, I want to thank you very much for joining us, Ann, and we really appreciate your words and your thoughts. You know, you are a real historic fighter, and I did a 2-hour interview, which is available on YouTube, of your life and your struggle, and I think we need more fighters like you who can stand up and tell the truth and actually survive to be able to do that. So thank you for joining us today. What were your last words?
The one thing that I would encourage everybody to do is go out, start telling your brother, your sister, your mama, your dad,